Welcome to the Do You Want to Know podcast. My name is Louie Musset, the host for this podcast, and I am a graduate in which I studied aircraft maintenance engineering, and I currently work as an assembler at a factory.
And my name is Romuald Gorda, the co-host for this podcast. I have also been working as an assembler at the factory, but I also work as a part-time on-the-road mechanic as a self-employed sole trade.
After the dissatisfaction of working under many different employers over the years, we both concluded that working for ourselves as fully self-employed individuals was the only remaining option to earn a living and being satisfied with what we do.
So the purpose of this podcast is to record our journey in trying to achieve this type of employment, while also explaining why we have chosen this path in the first place. Following on from our last episode, it was episode 1, 2021, Can Anyone Make a Podcast? We talk about what we might need to make a podcast, as well as the things we currently are using to record it.
But that was in 2021, last year. It's now the year 2022, 1 year later. What has happened during this time?
Yeah, it was really turbulent time. We actually recorded 2 episodes.
And we've recorded the second episode in a van.
Yes, that's really true. I remember. We just take the van and go to the new forest to find some nice location and quiet, especially quiet location to make the recording.
So just like my house. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. My house. And finally, we start recording online using the Discord and using the software. So it was experimenting.
So so we went to many locations. I just want to briefly mention that when we were recording together, the one thing that I found difficult was the microphone bleed.
Yes, that's really true.
So when we were, because we met at our house, in the van, and at your place. And the one thing I struggled with editing was the microphone bleed. And that was probably one of the main things that prevented all the other episodes from publishing. We actually recorded 6 episodes in total.
Yeah, that's another point, that we just been still learning the skills and getting the new skills and what is the better. Honestly, if we just focus on the episode 1 last year, everyone can still listen and get is published on the Red Circle.
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah, it's still there.
That's the thing about online, is that it stays there forever.
Yes, exactly. And its quality of the recording is pretty much good. And we've been recording this one in the garden. So maybe we just put too much emphasis on the quality, while quality still was acceptable, all good, instead of just moving forward. But, yes, we were still learning.
You're a bit of a perfectionist as well.
Yeah.
Like, I think we were, both of us, we were kind of going for the perfectionist kind of thing, where you try and complete a project. You try and make it perfect, but because you want to make it perfect, you never actually complete it.
Yes, another point that we also didn't expect, that everything is complicated. That is a little bit. So no one of us take any courses on evening classes how to make a podcast. So we just didn't have an idea about pre-recording process, recording, editing, publishing, everything, how to just make it works together, all the framework.
Yeah, and just in terms of publishing that last bit, because before in episode 1 we didn't actually know how to publish, but now I do. Because to publish a podcast, you have to actually submit it to a it's called like a, what's it, for like example, a website. A website is like a hosting service where you can host your website. Well, podcast actually has the same thing, where you need to go to a service to host your podcast. So, and there's many services out there, but the one I chose was called Red Circle. The reason I chose this platform compared to all others is because I knew we were still in a learning process.
Yeah.
and it was free for if you publish one podcast and with unlimited episodes, you don't have to pay anything.
Yeah. No, that's really good. So I think we can record one podcast about how to publish the podcast, or some other processes which we already know.
Well, like an entire episode, yeah, just how to...
Yes, just devoted to that subject. How to publish the podcast. How to make and publish.
And how to...
And how to make money on it. So we don't have money so far, but we hope
in
the near future. We'll see.
And there is actually a thing, but I'll talk about that near the end. How you can get money just through Red Circle. So they actually have a little thing about that. We published the episode 1 in 17th of October, and we recorded all the episodes doing experimenting stuff all the way up until February 2022. But then our lifestyles got a little bit turbulent.
Yeah.
I don't know. Our schedules kind of got misaligned, and we struggled to meet up again. And during that time, because we had a lot of episodes, let's stop for a bit. Because I think one of you went on holiday, I went on holiday, and then I was like, okay, let's focus on the editing and see if we can actually get that done. But because as I explained before, there was many technical challenges. There was like the microphone leakage, and even when we did it online, there was still, I wanted to cut all the ums and ahs, and I was trying to be too much of a perfectionist. And it was just taking me hours and hours and hours to even just edit one episode. Rom, what happened between February over the coming months after that? After we recorded episode 6, our last attempt?
Yeah, of course. So I have a little bit problems after the February this year. So it made even more difficult for us to record the podcast. My personal life was more difficult. My mom was after accident, and she's disabled now. Now she's better anyway, but I had to go to Poland to visit her and check what is going on, what the situation is, and many other things I had to do over there. And I have some healthy problems as well. I've been sick twice for a couple of weeks, and so on, and time was gone. And being focused as well on my private projects with YouTube stuff and so on. That this is what happened. That's why after the February we had a problem to meet together. Louie, what about you? What happened to you after February this year?
In February, I actually got a new camera. Because we published our episode on YouTube as well. So that means I made a YouTube account. I actually was looking into publishing my own YouTube as well, YouTube videos. And so after experimenting, I actually did 1 or 2 videos with just my own cameras at the time. But then I was like, okay, I want to boost up the quality. So I bought a new a camera called the Canon M50. Quite an expensive camera, for a novice even, a few £100. But it allowed me not just to actually make videos, but to also do stuff like photography, which I never imagined I would actually get into. But I started, playing around with the camera and started to get into photography. So that was quite nice. In terms of my personal life, it was more about I didn't really have a proper schedule, and the podcast thing was getting on my nerves a little bit, and I needed a little break, and that's why I started working on the YouTube. Let's see, and then I started delving into photography, just going out into the woods and taking photographs of things. I don't know when it was, March or April, I was looking at the software I was using for editing and everything, and I decided to actually purchase the Adobe Suite, which was a hard decision to make because it's quite expensive. The monthly payment is it's like multiple subscriptions in one thing. It's like £50 or something crazy like that. So it was quite hard to actually dedicate myself to purchase that. But my brother,
it gives you fantastic tools to make everything you need.
And I saw that because my little brother is an animator, and I saw all the tools he was doing, all the things he was doing with Adobe Animation and Adobe. Well, it's not, you don't have Adobe Animation, but you have like Photoshop. And so, yeah, and then I started, I even made experimented with animation because my little brother does animation, and tried all the different softwares. And so far, after a few months, I am seeing the benefits, but the learning curve for Adobe is quite steep. So you do have to spend quite a lot of time learning. And so that's probably what happened in the last few months. It's just that whole learning process. I'll just go back to you for a second, Rom, because we're just very briefly talk about anything you've learned over the last. I'm just gonna jump away before we move on to the next section. I want to see what you've learned.
So what about me? About my YouTube and another passion?
No, well, just about what you learned. I talked about what I learned in Adobe. Just briefly kind of go over, like you were going through a learning experience as well. Just talk about your learning. Like, did you feel like you were behind on some things?
Of course, all the time. Behind with the skills regarding to Reaper, the audio editor, which we are using for editing the podcast. I started to use it as well for the composing the music. So I'm making the music. I'm just trying to do this way as well, as a music producer, music maker, and as well the video editing software, just to making the more interesting videos. It also took me a time to get acquainted and feel pretty much good with the soft. So we needed time for this one, and I just use it, I think, wisely. So now I feel quite proficiency in both of them.
Yeah, because I just find that a lot of people go straight into recording, but they don't realize that the editing part just takes so long.
Yeah, that's really true.
And just that whole process. So from this, moving forward with this podcast, it took us talking about like just learning. This is the fourth attempt now that we've tried just to make the episode 2 of I would call it the relaunch of this podcast. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And so now we haven't quite decided yet on the frequency of the when we're going to release this. But again, because we've been practicing now, we're starting to get into a rhythm, aren't we?
Yeah.
So we're meeting up every week. And we're going to try and hopefully have something recorded. Well, not every week. We're going to try every few weeks. We might start the podcast as a bi-weekly. That might be best. So we have, it gives us time also to edit.
Mm-hmm.
And if our routines match up really well over the next few weeks and months, we can then move it up to weekly. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Why not?
So we'll publish this week. We'll publish whenever we publish this first episode. We'll just get that process out the way. And then once this episode is up and running, whenever it is, this week, next week, then we can, from the date we publish this episode, we'll give 2 weeks for the next episode. Sound good?
Yeah. Yes, it sounds good. Yeah, we just have to take some notice that we have some different circumstances, because you are single, you have no wife, no children, so you can make little bit better use of your time. I have a wife, I have little children, age 8 and 10, so they are very noisy and just difficult to find the time to do the stuff, especially with the recording, because editing is different, but need the time as well. So I've been struggling with this one for years and years and years, and this problem still coming back and coming back. But I said, no, I do not gonna give up. We just have to do this. So hopefully we will do, as you said, Louis, in 2 weeks' time, gonna be episode 2. At least next episode.
In terms of our unpublished episodes, what are we going to do about that?
Yes, because they are still interesting, I think. We're probably going to edit them. And I think we should keep them as excluded content. So probably they're going to be located on a website. And if someone want to listen to them, they can be somehow available on the website. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Because we're not even going to number them. We're just going to have them as discrete episodes because they're both also unique in different locations, and we're talking about different subjects, so we can just name them whatever we want.
Yeah.
Because we have a few options. In terms of like, if you want to put this as our little business thing, we can even put it behind a paywall. And then we can, even, as the months go on, create special episodes, if time allows, just dedicated to our dedicated followers.
Yeah, why not?
And that could be good, especially if we can spare the time. And also, if we start getting some money, we can then start to, talking about location, we can then rent a studio. If we're getting enough money, we could do that.
We will see.
We can definitely do that. Or who knows, or even like maybe we'll spend the money that fans give us and put that money into hiring a booth or something, like a studio, like a recording studio.
Yeah, we will see.
And do a special episode.
Yeah.
That's always an option. They got the equipment. You only need to record for an hour or two, and it does cost.
Yeah.
But if you're doing a podcast, you don't need to prepare. Again, something we can look into. I'm not sure if you can do it. I don't know. I've never tried anything like that before. But if it is exclusive content, then we can use the best microphones and everything.
Yeah.
In terms of finding all the information, you can find us at doyouwanttoknow.com. And also we distribute all our content through the Red Circle, which means it goes to all the platforms, most of the platforms that I know of, such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast. We'll also distribute it to YouTube as well. So again, I'm talking about everything that is needed to make a podcast. This is everything that's also that you need to set up. So it's taken me a year, but I've managed to have the time to set all this up. Anything, if we discuss anything in the episode, you'll find that in the show notes. And if you want to contact us, you can email us at louis@doyouwanttoknow.com and romuald@doyouwanttoknow.com. Those will be on the contact page of our website.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, Vom?
Yeah, sure.
I haven't finished. Still got plenty to add.
Yeah. Me too. So, do we gonna have some description, or someone can leave a comments, or just contact us via email?
Yeah, because if we have it on YouTube, you can just comment down below on the video.
Yes, exactly. So we probably should get this information. Why I'm asking about this, because if you have any ideas what we should talk about, is what you are more interested, or you would like to know more in some specific subject with our problems on the road to become a professional podcaster, please let us know. Write to us, and we will tell you a little bit more details in anything you just want. So please, maybe something what you are more interesting, and we are just mention about this.
Yeah, because at the moment we're just kind of documenting our journey. So anyone who kind of listens to it, they can listen to, what first episode, kind of us having no idea, starting literally the first episode, never done it before, kind of thing. And then this episode where we actually have published content and we're publishing again and we have a little idea of what we're doing. And hopefully as the weeks go by, we can then, receive payments, and then we can say, look, this is how we set up the payment systems for all the things we did. And this is how we're receiving money. Because as soon as you start that process, that's when you can start calling yourself self-employed. Because then you can say, look, I'm generating an income from this podcast. Now it's an actual career, not just a hobby you're doing on the side.
Yeah, that's really true.
And
all these details we can share with you. So,
and
our listeners.
Yeah. You also, so just to self-promote ourselves, do you want to start just to say what you have?
I have the YouTube channel, which called Romuald Gorda. So all my videos appearing over there. So if you want to see what my YouTube production, you are very welcome.
And
see, please watch it, subscribe it, and give me thumbs up.
But you're starting to work on more videos.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna say that expect. So even if you go on Rob's channel and you don't see much, 1 or 2 videos or something, there will be more coming.
Yes, definitely. There's a couple of them being prepared to be published. So in very near future, maybe this weekend. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And don't pressure yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, in terms of me, you can... I have actually quite a lot of content online now. So I would say go to louiemusset.com to find all of my content. So that's where I add all my links to everything. And I also, including my photography, so on there you'll be able to click a link on my content tab of the website, and then through there you'll be able to see all my photography stuff. I then have this podcast. I have my YouTube channel. So the YouTube channel is at Louie Musset. So there I've made a few videos, and I have a few videos coming up as well. Because now we're not just starting the production process for the podcast, we're starting to ramp up our production process for YouTube. And then I'm kind of doing a little experiment as well, where I'm actually trying my own little podcast as well. And that's Louie Musset's podcast, which can also be found on all the platforms mentioned previously. But yeah, subscribe to both podcasts and follow us. Do you know, Rom, what the next episode's going to be? We're still deciding?
We're still deciding.
We haven't quite decided yet.
So probably we're going to talk more about what happened and what has the most influence on our current life. So probably about my music or about your camera. So we will see.
Well, okay, well, we'll see. Because we're also trying to figure out the identity for this podcast. Mm-hmm. Because I just to mention, just last minute, just before we end, we did publish a trailer. And we're still debating whether we should change it, because when we first did the trailer, we had a different view of how the podcast would go. But since we've been recording and actually seeing what we've been talking about, we might try and change a little bit, but it's still mostly the same, because what we want to do is not just document the journey of making the podcast. We want to document our journey of Louie becoming self-employed and Romuald becoming self-employed. And that also involves documenting our personal projects. Mm-hmm. So and the thing is because we're not generating any money from any of the projects, it's good to just highlight what projects we're working on, because one of them might turn into a business and one might not, but you don't know. So you have to just say, look, this is what I'm working on. And especially if you're passionate about that project, you're going to want to talk about it.
That's true.
So if you want, next episode, we can just talk about our personal projects.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
just dedicate the episode to personal projects, and then people can kind of listen to us and just see, okay, what are we actually doing in our spare times on top of making the podcast? Because to be honest, the podcast section is actually quite small. We actually spend the majority of our time on our personal projects. Would you say?
Yeah, that's true.
Like we spend a bit of time talking about making the podcast, but it's a lot of just talking and trying to figure out what to talk about.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll try and get this episode up as soon as possible, and then next time we'll see where the next episode brings us.
Yeah, that's really true.
Until next time.
Till next time, cheerio.